from Arena Carioca 1 here in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, with Chase Ingram, Joel Gadet, Tefi Escudero will join us shortly as well. It is the Event 1, Heat 1 of the women's Triple Three. This is the Latin America Regionals and the first Latin America Regionals since 2014. And Chase, this thing is not a chipper in the truest sense, but you got to treat it like one and just kind of hack away at it.
Yeah, and it is, technically. It's just a laundry list of things to do. 3,000-meter row, 300 dumbbell unders, and a 3-mile run. And, you know, it's kind of interesting to see is some of the names in this heat. You know, you got lane 10, Brenda Castro in heat number 1. Lane 3, kind of a dark horse name that's been around for a long time, Anita Pravati. And so when you look at this, is that I'm not sure why they're in the first heat, seeing as how they were the top in the region coming in, but, you know, it's not a disadvantage per se, but I'm excited to see it.
This is a lot of your better finishers, too. Leah Schmidt is in there, too. She was third in Central America.
Yeah, so maybe doing things a little bit differently on the women's side for this heat in particular, but there's a lot of names here that are going to get their first taste of the weekend at this regional for event number 1.
Yasmin Arroyo Loaiza, who is in lane 15, is an interesting name to watch, too. The last time we held a Latin America regional was 2014. Yasmin Loaiza was second. She lost to Wanda Brenton by 2 points. So it's been a while, but she had a spot to the games, and she lost it. And she wants it back this year.
Same thing on the line. 1 spot for the women, 1 spot for the men, 1 for team.
That is Loaiza, by the way, on the left of your screen. That ups the intensity so much so that everything matters. You can have a bad event and still make it to the games if you're sending 5 individuals or teams.
Yes.
You can't have a bad event. I mean, the people that win out of this regional will be in that grouping of 5 top 10 finishes, 6 top 10 finishes. Like, you have to be in those standings.
I think higher than that. I mean, if you've looked at the regionals over the last 3 weekends, I mean, it's kind of unfair to compare what Catherine Davidsdottir did, 5 firsts and a third from the East. But, you know, we've seen the top men and women in their respective regions do things like nothing outside the top 5. Patrick Vellner being one of those guys. A little bit different in the South. I think the South Regional was kind of all over the place because of the altitude. It was kind of throwing some of the, basically half the region off. Some of the times were a lot slower, and I believe that was a major reason for that. So it's kind of hard to look at that one as any indication, but then you look at Europe, right? You look at what Andy Thorisdottir, Sigmundsdottir, and the other top, 5 girls, they were all sitting in, top 3 to 5.
Horvath was way up there.
There we go. But Anita Pravati is one of those athletes that have been in the game for a long time. She's one of the taller women in the field. Heck, she's one of the taller men in the field. She's 5'9". All these guys are so short.
The tallest man in this field is 6 feet tall.
And there you go, right? So,
or 6'2", I should say.
And something like a row is going to play into her strengths just based off being one of the taller athletes in the field. And with her background and having some of that endurance training, this is a good weekend to start off, because I think a lot of times when there is only 1 spot available, there's so much pressure to do well in every event. Specifically what we're talking to is that if you can start it off well, there's so much to say about having confidence going into the weekend. Start things off on the right foot. So you have this Triple Three event, repeat from the games in 2014, slight modification here upon another slight modification, because we're not doing assault runners anymore. They're doing 12 400-meter laps outside.
It's actually truer to the original.
Yeah, and then that's exactly, if you kind of want to look back in 2014 and see what some of the top scores were then. But, this is a great way to start a weekend for some of these athletes who may be a little unsure of themselves.
4 minutes and 30 seconds in to a 49-minute chap.
That pace of 2:05, you look at the center part of the screen, that dictates her 500-meter pace. So she's rowing 500 meters on average, right about 2:05, 2:04. And what her goal could be is her coach told her is like, I want you to try to keep it under or at 2:05 for the first 1,500, maybe back it off for the next 750, 500, 250 from there. But that's what you want to do, is just pace the beginning. You don't need to get a minute faster than the rest of the women in this field off the first 3K, as long as you're relaxed. You see her stroke rate, though. Look at that, 31, 33. Look how short her stroke is. She's basically reaching out there and pulling. Now, she didn't start that way. So here's one thing you'll see some athletes do as well, is they will change the length of their stroke based off how far they've rowed. I do the same thing, and this could be one of those, is that you can row long where you reach in really far, drive out with the legs. You can go short. She's just getting right above her knees, and what that does is that it shortens up her stroke, saves her legs a little bit. Because if you shorten up your stroke, now she keeps her heels against the rower and uses her hips and shoulders only to do the row. And what really matters is that pace, that 2:05, 2:07 that she's flirting with. I wouldn't be surprised if this changes a little bit at the 1,500-meter mark as she's approaching the halfway point. But what that does is it allows you to use different muscle groups. Right? Using full legs with a full stroke blows up the quads and calves a little bit more. Shortening up your stroke like this, more hips and shoulders.
Pravati and Brenda Castro are the two big names in this heat, and I think really the two biggest names on the women's side. As you get a look at Brenda Castro, she is the darling and the favorite of this. That's Castro in the black. Really burst onto the scene, and she's been to regionals a ton. I mean, going back 5 years. But when she burst onto the scene is when she shows up in open announcement 17.4 against Brooke Wells, who was coming off being the 6th fittest woman on the planet, and came within a rep of her. Brenda Castro kind of, when you talk about Latin America getting a regional back, it's not on one person's shoulders, but that's one of the eye-openers where you go, not only do they have good athletes, they have elite athletes.
And yeah, and she played it good. She did well in the South last year. I think she might
disappointing for where she maybe wanted to be.
I think it was almost disappointing in just the amount of coverage and attention that she got last year. She got a lot of it. She got her own open announcement. She went against Brooke Wells. She was being heralded as maybe the new Latin American hopeful to get out of the South itself. And it might have been maybe some unfair pressure, bringing that into that. Here, you're more at home. I know we're not in Mexico or in Brazil, but you know, we are in that Central South American regional now. And you're in your comfort zone, and you have a support system. You didn't have to travel as far. You know, there's not too much of a change of culture shift. And so you get more comfortable with where you're competing too. That plays a big factor into it. Now, I would say you shouldn't have put as much pressure on yourself to compete in the South against likes like Camille Reed, Margot Alvarez, or Tennille Burline, Camille LeBlanc-Bazinet, Margot Alvarez. Here, now there is a bit more pressure, right? You are the top one that has gotten the attention. So I like to see how she handles this more than she did in the South. Look at her row pace on the left side of your screen. Not too much different from Pravati, maybe 2 or 3 seconds off of a pace, but look at her strokes per minute. 28, 29, where Pravati was sitting at 33. Now she's sped up just a little bit. Although I think we've seen that on both athletes that got put on the full screen here in the arena. Like, oh no, I got to row faster. I don't want to think I'm rowing too slow, but you know, keep your pace, row your own race, so to speak. But this is two athletes, 159, 154, all rowing the same pace.
Let's talk about stroke rate. When you talk about strokes per minute,
yes.
When you have more strokes per minute, obviously you are working more, but if you have less strokes per minute, you're pulling harder.
Yes.
If you're doing the same amount of work.
Yes.
Where is the rub in terms of which way you want to go and what you get from each?
Well, there's also things to think about as well as like, yes, if I'm doing 33 strokes per minute versus your 28, I would say I'm doing more work. I'm not necessarily working more. And it also depends on the damper setting. On the side of all these Concept 2 rowers is a damper setting, and it dictates how much airflow does and doesn't get to the fan. And what that does is it makes the stroke harder or it makes it easier. So if you have a light damper setting, you can handle going 30 to 33 strokes per minute because the fan speed is moving a lot lighter. If you have a high damper setting, and those dampers on the other side of these Concept 2s, you rowing 33 strokes per minute at an 8, 9, 10 damper setting, that is definitely working too hard. So it depends on the length of your stroke. For a distance like this, you'd probably want to see athletes have that damper setting right around between 5 and 6. The longer distance you row, the lower you want your damper setting. And what that allows is that it allows ease per stroke. So if she's going 30 to 33, that fan speed is constantly high, which also means less resistance, right? If you drop it down to 27, 28, that fan speed is going to slow down in between pulls, so you do work a little bit harder per pull, but your total pulls are less. So this, that's a long answer to a short question, is that it's almost damper dependent and anatomy dependent as well.
Closing in on 11 minutes. The record for this last week on the women's side was set by Gabby Magala. 11:37 is when she got off the rower.
20-year-old Gabby Magala. Let's throw that out there.
Now, it's also interesting to note, and Gabby did this in 40:15, so close. But nobody did it in under 40 minutes total. And again, this will be different than last week because it's a true road race and not an assault runner race. But that is the pacing that we're looking at. Compared it to a week ago, the average was about 44:30 across the regionals.
And pretty soon we should start seeing some hands go up in the air. We're right about that 12-minute mark, and that's a decent pace. Again, that's a 2-minute pace if they're holding 500s. We saw most of these athletes at 2:05, so you're looking at probably about 12:20, 12:30.
Well, there's your first off.
Oh, there you go. Now that's a fast pace. That's a pretty good clip for a 3,000-meter row.
Andrea Rodriguez is the first one of the double unders out of Lycan CrossFit in Ecuador, the only athlete from the nation of Ecuador. From Guayaquil, the largest city of almost 3 million people. And now the field has caught up. It's like they opened the doors at Black Friday. Everyone just comes off the rowers and barnstorms to the double unders.
All right, so phase 2 of the buy-in starts. The 300 double unders. Brenda Castro's joined the fold as well. But this is where you want to make sure you stay nice and relaxed, break up on purpose. Don't just keep doing double unders because you can go unbroken. You have a power bar next to your body. You know, this is like old Mortal Kombat, is that as you work, that power bar goes down. As you rest, it goes back up. The more times you can break, you can keep that power bar high in terms of energy level. There's no need to bleed yourself dry before a 3-mile run starts.
Anitta pra baixo, avançando, Léa, avançando, Brenda Castro, Vivi Anelo e Antonelli Nicole também.
There you see the communication between you and the judge. You do keep your own score while you're doing this, but you can ask for confirmation from the judge in front of you. And the power bar you talk about there, you get caught up in your own feet a couple of times, and We've all had that moment of frustration. Go rope.
Yeah. You know, and you're looking at this right off the bat. You're looking at a couple things, and slow your row. Okay, calm down. This is event 1. We're at your own regional again. Slow your row. You're gonna feel good. You're gonna feel great. You're like, oh, I didn't know 140 could feel so easy. Yeah, for maybe 500 meters. Slow it down. It's just an opening. Break it up. Purposely break up your double unders more than you think you should. I promise it will benefit you more on the run. And we get to the run, pace it out. You got a clock inside the arena. Every time you take a lap, check your pace, see if you're on target, if you fell off a few seconds or not. Keep that pace.
How do you feel about the game plans so far?
Well, again, it's hard to tell.
Yeah,
it's hard to tell in total. I think the 12 to 13 minute row is a decent pace for these athletes. Now you need to just watch them, how they're handling these double unders. Are you jumping too high? Are you jumping at all, right? You shouldn't really jump on a double under. You should just bounce off the floor effortlessly. Are you hunched over? How are your brakes looking? And as I kind of scan the floor, as I see a kind of good blend of everything. Some people working too hard, tucking their heels back, rounding at the shoulders. That side-by-side comparison here, I think that was very good. And Castro, she's out through those.
Yeah. Now she has company. Antonelli Nicole is also out on the run. And Antonelli Nicole is another one of those under-the-radar type women that could compete very well here. We've talked a lot about Pravati. She competed at the 18.1 Open announcement, Part 2 this year. It was Nicole versus Pravati. So when you talk about people that they wanted to represent Latin America on that national stage, those were the two names that popped up in that Open announcement.
And now we're on to our 3-mile run, 12 400-meter laps around the facility and back inside. And now it's a pacing game. Do I start quick? Do I get a little bit ahead, everybody? Kind of make people want to not chase me down? Maybe you take that first 400 as a time to just kind of get a little bit of distance, break some spirits early, or do you pace it out and try to catch your breath and save the race for the end? You got a lot of laps to go.
We saw Sammy Ariza have a monumental lead in the last men's heat. And Chase, who won the last men's heat?
Well, that was Reyes, who came out of nowhere. And that was one of those that starting fast and then losing it in the beginning, kind of lost through that. But your top 3 working into their first 400 meters.
You've got Castro, Antonelli Nicole, and then in the white behind Antonelli Nicole is Leah Schmidt as well. So that's your top 3.
And I think I saw Pravati behind her, so you got your top 4, kind of your top 4 names we're looking at coming into this.
There is Castro back inside. A lap down. And there's Leah Schmidt in the white top.
Terceira posição aqui também já na corrida. Foi a terceira atleta a sair.
Vamos para 19 minutos.
This is a 3-mile run, just shy of a 5K. So if you can run this thing at full strength in 22, 23, 24 minutes, you've had a good Thanksgiving turkey trot. This is after running, or rather rowing 3,000 meters and doing 300 double unders. Running outside here at Arena Carioca 1, where you've got the brick You've got the concrete when you come back into the arena. You've got the arena floor. There are a couple of different surfaces, so do keep that in mind a little bit as well. Just in terms of how they play, how they grip, kind of where you are. You've got to turn corners. Some of them are sharper than others.
Yeah, just pay attention. I mean, please. Watch what's going on around you. Look at the athletes. A little bit of a lead change between your top three. Finishing up, or at least in the middle of their second lap, they'll do 12 of them. You see them just trying to catch their breath. Antonelli breathing a little bit harder, kind of trying to take those deep breaths in. Castro and Schmidt behind her, Pravati in the background. So this is shaping up to be a pretty good so far. Might have a tight 4-person race by the end of it.
And you can see Castro there checking her own time.
And that's it. I don't know if you have time. I don't know if you're wearing like
some
a
sort of
heart
Fitbit
rate
device.
Monitor. In fact, I don't even know if you're allowed to wear those things, but
She's getting her steps in, Chase.
yeah, you know, get them in while you can. A little bit of a twofer.
Antonelli Nicole in first right now out of CrossFit in Batavel. Translate that, unbeatable. We'll find out. She was third at this regional in 2014. That's when Loiza was second. Wanda Brenton went on to the games. In a lot of cases, you've got several athletes, and Emmanuel Maldonado did go to the games back in 2014, but he's back. A lot of athletes on both the men's and women's side who, when the Latin American regionals existed back in 2011, 12, 13, 14, were there at the top, and then the regionals go away, they come back, and the same names return, and it's like the return of the Jedi in some sort of fashion. Like, our regional is back. Now these names rise back to the forefront with an opportunity to send themselves to the games and grab a hold of some of that glory.
Well, absolutely, and I think that's kind of the fun part, and we've alluded to it a few times already this weekend, is that this is the CrossFit Games for Latin America, and this is an opportunity for these athletes to get on the biggest stage that they've ever been on in their own region, per se. So, you know, it's just the start of what's going to be a very exciting and long weekend for these athletes.
Leah Schmidt has jumped in front of Castro. So it now goes Nicole, Schmidt, Castro as your three in the lead here in Heat 1 of this women's triple three. This is the third movement, so to speak. Row, double under, run. Leah Schmidt out of Playa del Carmen, Mexico. And if you're saying to yourself, Schmidt, Playa del Carmen, Mexico, she is not originally from Playa del Carmen, Mexico, and this is a story that defines the importance of CrossFit to people. She said, well, she is from Switzerland, and said, I moved to Mexico 6 years ago. She now has 2 homes and 2 families. She came to learn Spanish, was only supposed to be there for a couple of months, and stayed. So my initial reaction was, well, she met some people. Like, you meet friends or you meet a person, and now you stay. And she says, no, I met CrossFit. She started CrossFit in Mexico and stayed. She loved the community. She loved what it offered. She loved that she was able to do CrossFit the way she does where she is. She can coach it. She can train it. She can live it. She stayed put in Mexico because of this sport and this stage.
I just like how comfortable Schmidt looks on this run. Just, you know, one of the longer athletes, nice good stride, pulling away from Castro and Nicole.
Do we count 17 countries? Switzerland.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, did we count that in our total?
She's out of Mexico. That is the Central American part of this region. It's split up into 2. Central America, South America. One sending 25, the latter 15, the former, to create the 40 individuals competing in Latin America. And that includes the Virgin Islands, Puerto Rico, to Chile, where there are 4 women. The men of Chile have to pick it up. Costa Rica, El Salvador are represented. And Schmidt really growing that lead over Nicole and Castro at this point.
Like I said, she looks very comfortable. I like the pace that she's going at right now. You know, she's not laboring too much. It's just some of the other athletes just kind of hunched over and almost like they're having to pull their feet forward for every step. She's just floating on her toes.
See the judges seated on the rowers, which will drive a CrossFit coach nuts. The rower is not a chair, but in this event it is. They are seated on the rowers, keeping tabs of your laps, 12 of them around this course. And when you get through 11, the judges will stand up from the rower. That is your flag to say you have 1 lap remaining. When you come back in, they will be standing next to your rower to open that imaginary door down your lane. When you come in after that final lap, you turn up your lane and sprint toward the finish line, and that is something that matters. We've seen it come into effect on both men's heats, where you think you're tied with someone, then you come inside, and you have to run down lane 1, they have to run down lane 20, so it adds some extra time at the end, although you had to run that extra time at the beginning. It's like track. It's when you do a 400-meter race, someone starts in front of you, you start behind them, at the end, it's all even.
And Schmidt and Castro were actually side by side when we started this event, so they have that for them as they'll, whoever can take it will take it once they get inside, but still have some way to go, but Schmidt is just looking so good and starting lapping the rest of the field and pulling away from the other 2.
That's Schmidt in the white. Castro just behind her, went off screen to the right.
Castro still not giving up too much ground from Schmidt. But just look at the difference between the 2. Just that light, quick steps from Schmidt. Castro a little bit more. I mean, she's a shorter athlete, a stronger athlete when it comes to the barbell. So what Castro just needs to do is to just stay close. You know, don't overextend yourself for 2 to 3 places on a leaderboard, especially if you can take advantage of the next event. You don't want to go so hard that you lose that advantage.
The co-owner of CrossFit, Fibonacci, in Playa del Carmen, Mexico. Twice before a regional athlete, so Schmidt has been here before. She was in the Super South in 2015 and 16. She was 47th and then 39th, respectively. She's one of the other great stories in CrossFit in that you can challenge yourself every day, you can improve every day. It's that kind of Kaizen, continuous improvement idea. Leah Schmidt had no sports background. She started in CrossFit and this became her sport. She's not a gymnast. She's not a basketball player. She's not a hockey player. This is her sport, and she has excelled.
Let's see why now. Look at that distance now. She's putting on Brenda Castro, but I'll give it to Brenda Castro is that she is, she's in second. She had fallen into second place to Anelli Nicole, but now she's moved up for sole second place behind Schmidt. And she doesn't look all that bad. You know, she doesn't look as comfortable as, say, as Leah Schmidt does in the left part of your screen, but Brenda Castro right behind her is doing very well.
Antonelli Nicole has fallen off, too. You see her just coming around the corner in the distance. So the top 3 are a spread 3. Little heat of outside, little spritz of AC as you come inside. It's one of the benefits of the way that the run is set up.
Atleta Lea Schmidt, ela que está na liderança da bateria, completando agora sua sexta volta, seguida da atleta Brenda Castro, ela que classificou em primeiro aqui no Open.
You see a lot of these coaches on the side yelling out splits to their athletes. Not just how long it took the lap, but how many laps they have left to go.
Out of CrossFit Entrenati in the cutoff black shirt you just saw run off the screen before we got to Schmidt. That is Myra Medina as well, the 29-year-old who is in the running near the top half here, or not more than the top half, but in the running near the top 4 or 5. This is the third part of triple three. 3,000-meter row, 300 double unders, and a 3-mile run. On assault runners everywhere else, but here in Brazil with the truck strike and an inability to get equipment in, everything was crowdsourced for this regional. If you're just joining us, all the equipment you see this weekend is from boxes in Rio de Janeiro, while the CrossFit Games and CrossFit Regionals equipment is in a truck when trucks about 60 kilometers away from here cannot get through a strike blockade. So it shows it's an amazing outpouring of support from the CrossFit community and the ability to adapt on the fly. As Rory said yesterday, constantly varied.
Yeah, and part of the unknown and unknowable element that is CrossFit is that, these athletes just need to adapt. They're all doing the same thing. They're not at a disadvantage to one another. It's just going to be a little bit different than what they expected.
There's the assault bikes arriving that we used in the team competition earlier today. It was like Noah's truck. They came in twos.
And it's just amazing to see. We were here yesterday just watching these, moving trucks just get brought up to the back of the arena, and just barbells and bumper plates and everything underneath the sun getting provided solely from the local CrossFit affiliates here in Rio.
It will be interesting when we get to the boxes, not the CrossFit boxes, the box jump boxes for the dumbbell stepovers. Some of them are painted differently. This one is from this box, this one is from that box. We'll have a festival of boxes. It's free advertising for your local box.
Hey, it's like I'll plenty of my equipment. Hold on, I need to spray paint this really quick. And you're looking at this is the event record in Europe set by Sigurður Þrastarsson, 35:25. Again, that was with assault runners, which I think is just so much worse. And that's actually the event record on the men's side. And we saw the other guys kind of go through that
40-15 for Gabby
Magala. But you got to think about in terms of, and there you say Gabriela Magala, 20 years old, 40-15. Is the time to beat, and these athletes are creeping up to the later third of this event as far as laps to go.
It was Annalisa Marquez in the south at 44:09, and keep in mind that is with the difference in altitude, although, the difference here is that there's no assault runners, the difference there is that there was high altitude, so the variables everywhere, and then Katrin Davis-Daughter did it in 41:10 in Albany, where they had normal altitude and assault.
Kind of that happy median across the board. Just look how calm Schmidt's face is as she's going through this. And, that's what you want to see. Even if she's not calm, there's an element to this. There's an element to endurance running, endurance training, and not just, in a monostructural movement just like this, but say a long event. It's just staying calm on the surface is so valuable into how that dictates what your body does. Because you could be legs burning, calves burning, lungs burning, but if you can stay calm, some people say it's like crack a smile and things will be okay. It's true. There's a weird, psychosomatic element in terms of if I can stay relaxed, I know my body can do this. You can run your body into the ground if you let it to. The body will do that. but it's being able to dictate that calmness through that, and that's what I'm seeing right now from Leah.
Chegando em 34 minutos e 40 de prova.
And the gap grows in a different way than we saw in the men's heats. When the gap started to shrink as it went on, Leah Schmidt has run stronger as Castro now just comes into the screen. Antonelli Nicole was running third. Myra Medina was running fourth. But look, they have yet to appear in the picture. It's a 49-minute cap. No one on the women's side has completed this test in under 40 minutes yet. That is in any of the regional competitions that have taken place so far. 3 laps remaining, and I don't know if we're going to see our first sub-40 finish here. That's a tall order in the next 4 minutes to complete 3 laps, but on a pretty decent pace time here for Leah Schmidt.
Chegamos em 36 minutos de prova.
E olha ela chegando para mais uma volta leste, a sua líder completando a 9ª volta com 36.
Leah Schmidt out in front, Brenda Castro, Antonelli Nicole. Your headliners on the women's side. They get a treat here in Heat 1, seeing some of the dominant forces we expect to see this weekend.
Well, I think Schmidt is starting to open up that pace just a little bit more on Brenda Castro. But Castro's, again, it's a long weekend. This is only one event. This is a very niche event. In fact, the next 3 events we have are very niche event in terms of they all deal with the same type of modality in each one. This is 3 type of monostructural movements: rowing, double unders, and running. Linda later this afternoon, or at least a version of it, is barbell, 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 straight weightlifting, and we kick off tomorrow with all gymnastics. If you think about just moving your body in space, so much can happen from event to event to event because it is so specialized. It's not the same thing. It's not like just doing a 1,000-meter row. You know, you need to have capacity across all these types, but I really love how these regionals are starting with these 3 very specifically structured modalities type events. It just means a lot can change from event to event. After event 3, we might have a better idea because we've touched on every single modality, but until we get to day number 3, we can't exactly call out, well, Schmidt just showed that she's here to take it. It's like, this just might be her jam.
She might be a great endurance athlete.
But when your jam comes up, you need to jam out, and that's what she's doing right now.
I like that. Don't miss your guitar solo. The 8 bars come and go. If you don't play, the drummer's going to go to town. Two laps remaining for Schmidt. Those judges just lying in wait. No pressure, by the way. Like, you've got to be locked in because you can't miss your athlete. Hey, did Leah run by?
I tell you what, who's going to be counting is that if she has a coach here, I guarantee you he knows exactly what number she's on.
It's like being a high school or college track coach at this point, where you're just standing there with a stopwatch and there's nothing else you can do other than yell, "You've got to move."
Yeah.
Now.
Well, I know, and you can have the discussion is that we see this a lot in track, especially distance events, is that they will talk pace. They'll say speed up, slow down, 5 seconds more, 5 seconds less. You have a very short window to do that inside this arena, but It is important to know what that pace is as we are coming up on the 40-minute mark.
Leah Schmidt, after the Open, was third in Central America. Brenda Castro was first. Antonelli Nicole was third out of the South. You are looking at top contenders. Keeping in mind, 20 individual women opted to come as teams as well. So when I say first and third out of the Central, second came on a team. So the top 2 Central American women in the field are in first and second right now. One more lap to go. After turning the corner, Schmidt will run past the rowers and then be on to lap 12. And you can see there's the little sign. She said one more. You can see on the face a little bit of it starting to wear. She has that pace. She hasn't let up, but you can see the expression.
Oh, yeah.
The pain is setting in.
But it's worth it.
And that's an effortful run by Castro, too.
It is, but, you know, it looks like she is laboring a lot more if you kind of watch Leah Schmidt run and then Castro won by her, but she hasn't changed that pace. So is it the most technically efficient run in the world? No. Does it look easy? Absolutely not. However, she is making it work. She's working within her means. And, this is going to be a good finish for Schmidt and Castro.
Leah Schmidt, much more the runner's body, so to speak. She is kind of designed how you would like to see a cross-country runner.
Yeah, what you want to see is like long, lean, and that's what you'll see from a lot of cross-country runners. Now, in terms of, playing to your strengths, this is one of those that lined up pretty well for her, so she's trying to knock it out of the park. It's funny to say we're talking about the favorites in this event, and this is still heat 1 of 2. We have a second heat after this, so some of these athletes are lying and waiting and seeing this go by, but I'm not saying that that's an easy thing to do, because if you're like, these are the top athletes that we came to compete with and they're struggling a little bit.
Final turn into the arena for Leah Schmidt. This is it for Leah Schmidt. She will sprint, trying to get it inside 42.35. And she does. Like almost 42.34 unofficially for Schmidt. Brenda Castro behind her. And now remember, they're running outside, not on the assault runners like were used last week, but the average between the East and Europe regionals was about 44.5. So if that's your midpoint, your leads are in about on pace with where you would expect compared to last week. A little bit of a different event, but similar times.
The assault runners are different than running, but they're supposed to mimic running, so maybe it is a good kind of like, bonus for the assault runners. Like, hey, good job. You made it seem like it's supposed to seem. So, that's a good thing.
We do have a cadre of standing judges as well. So we expect a horde of runners to follow down their lanes. And here they come, Antonelli Nicole. Anita Pravati as well. Schmidt, Castro, Nicole, Pravati are your top 4 here in Heat 1. By the way, knowing where you are, Leah Schmidt was running with a Mexican flag down the far side while Nicole was running to finish her race. And Nicole looked over to Schmidt thinking she was racing somebody. So she hit the burners against someone that wasn't there.
You know, it's very exciting to see if this is how it's going to shake up as your top 4 favorites coming in, finishing 1, 2, 3, 4 coming out.
There's Vivian Aiello, second in South America, so she will be another big-time name to watch. Jimena Delamer out of Tucala Núñez, Buenos Aires, Argentina, 36 years of age, competing at the regional level. That's Vanessa Benavides. We reached that point where it's just one after the other after the other. You have that front of the pack, and then the gates just open. And I think we have 8 in, which is almost the halfway point. So we've hit about the median mark, and we are about on pace with the rest of the regionals that have occurred already. Teffy is down on the floor, though, with our winner of Heat 1, Leah Schmidt. Teffy.
Leah, not a stranger to competition. What was your game plan going into this event?
My game plan was definitely to keep the row like on my pace, what I can maintain for 3K, and I did that. I was fired up when I came out because I said, yeah, I did it, and it was a hard pace for me. And it paid off, I think, at the end. I was really calm when I came to the double unders. I didn't stress about the double unders because, yeah, it's anybody can do it. And then on the run for me, it was just push, 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 push. And yeah, my mind coming in was a little bit, I want to win that heat.
Awesome, Leah. Congratulations. See you soon.
Teffy, thank you. Leah Schmidt. Did she have a game plan? She had a game plan.
Yeah.
That thing was laid out. I like the Mexican camaraderie as well. Leah Schmidt finishing that interview with Teffy and then going right over to her countrymate, Cecilia Ramirez Villamil. And then helping out with Yasmin Loaiza as well. Get those shoes off, get those legs shaken out. That is Loaiza, who that is how she feels about that event. Still 2 minutes left before we hit the cap. Castro standing in second after the first heat. May as well take some time to take some selfies. It's amazing how much you switch that or flip that switch. You go from competition mode to, Brenda, can I have a picture? Yeah, give me your phone. Here we go. It's enjoying the moment. It's living in the excitement of where you are right now. Jennifer Reyes into the building and over the finish line. Andrea Rodriguez out of Lycan CrossFit in Ecuador. There are still 4 out running with 30 seconds to go, and we have judges standing. So this is a race to beat the cap. You don't want to get capped.
Yeah.
Luisa Diaz beats the cap. 13 seconds. Judges standing if you can get back inside, but it's not going to be. We have hit the cap. Leah Schmidt beats the cap and then some. She wins Heat 1, a heat with a ton of top competition.
She beats the cap and the rest of the field in her heat. Right next to Brenda Castro, not the first one off the rower. one of the first ones out of the double under. She was actually in third and then passing Castro and Nicole around lap 2 and then did not look back after that. Just kind of a smooth pace. You know, she was talking earlier how she pushed the pace the entire time. But when you have, like I said before, when an event like this comes up and it's in your wheelhouse, then you need to take advantage of that, especially when you're talking about one place going to the games this year.
Leah Schmidt, the Swiss Mexican, ahead of Brenda Castro, and then the 3 Brazilians on their home turf, Nicole Pravati and Aiello. Benavides and Villamil came in. Loaiza, the Mexican contingent, showed out very well for finishing in the top half of this first heat. Second heat is coming up next. Much more to come from Arena Carioca 1 in Rio and the Latin American Regional. There are our lane assignments. You'll see at the bottom 2 American citizens, 2 of the 3 in this Latin American Regional. Emmanuel Maldonado from Puerto Rico is the other on the men's side. The back half of heat number 2, the 4 Brazilians on their home turf. We saw Leah Schmidt, a winner in heat 1. Could Chris Schmidt be a winner here in heat 2?
You know what these ladies have is they have something to chase now, and that's a time. Time of 42:35 set by Leah Schmidt in heat number 1. You know, what's interesting to see is that these heats were kind of flipped as they normally are, where this heat usually goes first, but the faster heat goes second. But when you're starting out in this event, you want to slow the row. Keep it nice and simple, nice and smooth. Yielding 20 to 30 seconds isn't going to kill you for the rest of the event. This is maybe 1/3 of your time spent on the rower. And then when you get to the double unders, break them up. Break them up on purpose, break them up often. Keep that energy high. Don't worry about the time you might lose taking those breaks. And then on the run, get to the run and start pacing it out. They have clocks in here. You could be wearing a watch. Check your time markers each time you come into this arena and see how that pace is working for you. Be aware of the situation around you. Play to the rest of the field. Run your race based off of that.
So a minute 16 in to what is a 49-minute workout. The second triple three, the fourth triple three heat between the men's and the women's. As Chase mentioned, the 42:35 is the number to beat. We talked about the couple of Americans in this heat. One of them on your screen, that is Kelly Edelman, 42 years of age. She just missed qualifying automatically for the games as a Masters athlete. She finished 28th. So she's coming to the regional here to try to qualify out of the open division and prove that age is just a number. But there's more to her story than just that. She is from California originally. She moved this past year out of CrossFit Blizzard in California and to St. Martin. And of course, St. Martin, the Virgin Islands, Puerto Rico, all devastated by hurricanes in the past year. She moved 5 weeks after the storm. Her husband had already moved down to the island last July while she was preparing for the CrossFit Games. Moved after the storm and has been a huge part of the rebuilding process on the island of St. Martin. Told us the tourism and the economy on that side is returning slowly, but it will be a long road to recovery for that island. And tumultuous time for both her and her husband fighting to get through it. And as we've heard from a couple other athletes affected by the hurricane, be it Thomas Wilson or Emmanuel Maldonado on the men's side, CrossFit and the community has been a big part for them getting through all of it. That is Rosana Prado that you get a look at, 29 years out of Santa Catarina, the southern side here in Brazil. Wants to be the first southern Brazilian to make it to the games. She's the first one to make it to a regional. The former ballet dancer the former, yes, circus performer, has traveled the world, China, Italy, and the U.S. as a dancer and circus performer for 4 years, and now has taken it to CrossFit as she catches herself in the arena on the video board. Has without a doubt increased her cardio, so stoked for the opportunity to test that side of her CrossFit here on event number 1, Rosana Prado. And you take a look as Chase has talked a lot about strokes per minute and your 500-meter pace. You can see the 29-meter stroke per minute rate and the 157 per 500 meters.
That is very fast. That is a very fast pace. Although if you can do it with a smile, maybe that's okay, but you still have 2,000 meters left to go. So, you know, let's kind of keep our eye on this to see where this kind of goes from here, but that may be a hair too quick to start a 3,000-meter row.
She's a circus performer. She finds ways. She does the impossible. She makes the magic happen for children every day. Why is CrossFit any different?
You know, we all have circus tricks. I'd be curious to see how she walks on her hands, but we'll see what happens.
That's true. There should be high expectations on that, no?
Yeah, well, I mean...
How about we light that obstacle on fire and see how it goes?
And maybe just make herself feel more at home.
Prado also wins the I Have My Own Gear competition.
Yeah.
That we talked about on the men's side with Lucas Almeida.
Now, I don't know if that's like permanent smile or if that's just kind of like her competition face, but it doesn't seem to really be going away.
She really likes rowing.
Maybe, you know, I can be proven wrong. I've been proven wrong many times before, and I will many times after this. However, I have met someone that kind of has like a permanent smile on their face when they do work out. I'm like, are you having fun? Like, what are you talking about? This is the worst. I'm like, okay, I guess this is kind of your face.
It's a grimace.
It could be worse, you know. I've seen the opposite of that before.
She's definitely looked up a couple of times and caught herself on the in-stadium video board too, which I think is part of it.
I think we have two different, you know, types of faces. We have one which I won't dive into, but you have the RBF mode, and then maybe like SFF, like smiling fitness face, is more of like what we're trying to go for that for Prado. I don't know, but I've seen both.
We've got a little quirk for you here. 21 athletes, Chase, in 20 lanes for this one.
Still smiling.
It's turning into an exasperated smile. Melina Rodriguez out of Big Friends. And she is someone who comes in with major expectations. She was at the games last year.
Yes.
Did not make the first heat, so she has moved into the second heat. Melina Rodriguez runs left of everyone.
Now, it's my understanding is that you are disqualified from competition if you miss your heats and you are not allowed to go. But that's up to the discretion of the judging and head judges here on site. It could be a legitimate reason on why.
That's
and
it.
obviously,
we don't know
you
why.
would hate to disqualify someone who has a lot of potential to do well here based off maybe an accident. So we will see.
So 21 in this heat. There were 19 in the prior. And again, you can look at different forms and different ways of rowing, and we kind of broke down the pluses and minuses of each style doing it in the 3 heats that have happened prior to this, but you can see there's that little kind of herky jerk, slow return.
Yeah,
You'll get that smooth, calm return. A couple of different ways to go about
You
it.
see a few different ways, and just in the front part of your screen, you can see a good example of that. And this third to the bottom in the bright yellow is
Camila Gonzalez.
Camila Gonzalez, just looking at really just putting a lot of power into each stroke.
Oh, I stand corrected. That's Tata Hebani. Gonzalez is to her right.
Right, and when you think about a powerful athlete, this would be an example of that. So that row technique is more power per pull. So we were touching on what should you put your damper setting on, how many strokes per minute. She probably prefers a little bit higher damper setting, as well as doing less strokes per minute, but more power per pull. So she has a nice long stroke, but putting a lot of legs and lean back into it, where it might be more comfortable, right? You do less strokes per minute, you get more of a good breath in between strokes, and that just might play to her strengths.
She might be the most famous person here, by the way. You ever watch Big Brother Brazil? Season 4. Tata Hebani.
I have that on the DVR. I haven't quite caught up to the Brazilian Big Brother just yet. But.
Former professional boxer as well. Strength is her game. So using a powerful pull on the rower is going to be to her benefit, and she might not be someone who is, gosh, look at that.
All right, so power per pull, that's kind of, actually this is kind of a page out of the Jason Khalipa playbook, is that this is how he used to row, is that guy would put massive amounts of power into each pull, and he was able to maintain these ridiculous paces for the longest events. I mean, look at that, 151, 152. Again, I think we see some of that charge of, her video is up on the screen here in the arena as well. What you see is what we're seeing on the video board, and I think we should do a little social experiment while we have the time. Shoot, we've been here for 3,000 meters. Let's see if people's rows paces change every time we put their monitor on the big screen. We're 3 for 3 for now.
It's the same effect for the layman. When you go to a fitness class and the fitness instructor walks right next to you and says, "Don't quit, don't quit, don't quit, Joel." You go, "Oh, okay, everybody knows I just took a break."
You
it's that
a
external...
little lower, you go a little faster. Like, it's just, can you go over there in your corner and stop looking at me, please?
100%. There's the former Big Friends member, Melina Rodriguez. 18th at the Games as a team a year ago. And Tata Hebani is the first off the rower to no surprise. And now we'll see how she handles the double unders. She is going to be dynamo on the strength exercises this weekend. If she can have a great showing here.
As long as she doesn't push herself too hard now. Right? You want to play to your strengths, minimize your weaknesses.
She's getting after it on the rope here.
Crush the row, but she is working really hard on these double unders. I mean, look at that speed, but she's jumping about 4 inches higher than she needs to. Her arms are really bent, so she's working really hard. And then you're going to see is the break she's going to have to take. If you look like that between your sets of double unders, unless you just like to rest like that, you're going way too hard. Half those sets up a little bit and just relax a little bit more if you can.
This is where pacing becomes critical, and we go back to that hurry, don't rush. It's working quickly but not working frenetically.
Yeah, well, in this event, pacing is racing. When you got something as long as this one is the...
Did you rhyme that intentionally?
I mean, yeah. Pacing is racing, said by Chase. But it's like, when we do this, you can't go fast in these events. It's just not the way it's designed to be. So those that take the approach of, I want to finish in this time frame, how do I manipulate these 3 sections to fit that?
Luana Soares in the blue.
She has to be the tallest athlete here.
Hands down. She is 6 feet tall as the woman, the tallest woman. And she is actually pushing tallest athlete. Men's or women's.
Yeah.
Atletas avançando para a segunda série de 100 repetições.
And look at the wrist action.
Yeah, so this is a little bit different pace. Now, what I would say she is not doing enough of is bouncing more than jumping, right? And so she's focusing very hard on trying not to miss. And when you do that, you'll see them jump higher but spin slower. And I think in terms of trying not to go too hard, you end up actually doing more work. That's more of a land and leap. Look just to her left. This is perfect. Just to her left. Look at that bounce. Bounce, 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 right? Where she is doing a big jump. And even to her right is a whole nother style, is that her arms are super wide and super long. So I'll say in terms of the 3 women you have in front of you, left to right is better, okay, and then not as good in terms of row position. Look how wide her arms are on the far right side of your screen.
Andrea Pinheiro there on the right.
And this is what I tell athletes all the time, is that you got to shorten up your rope. You got to stay more relaxed. Think of it in terms of this. What if you just stood there holding your arms to the side of your body? How much energy is that going to take? How much is that going to fatigue your shoulders? Now do double unders, right? So obviously you can't shorten the rope up now, but I would say in the future it's just, you need to cut about 1.5 feet off that jump rope. And it'll make your life a lot easier when it comes to double unders.
Também na raia de número 20, Simona Quintana.
I've got about half the group through 150. They each advance after the first 150, then your 300, then you head out and run.
It's a
Three
casual
times.
3-mile run.
Yeah. You take it that way. Nice and easy. 3,000 row, 300 doubles, 3-mile run. Simona Quintana. See ya. Outside. She is the first done with double unders.
And she is nearly out of the screen. She's all the way over in lane 20.
There she goes. Out of Chile, there are only 4 competitors from the Narrow Nation. Simona Quintana, just 22 years of age. All 4 are on the women's side.
She was done right around 16 minutes. She's on to her first 400, 42.35, so you're looking at a 26.35.
I got bad news for the rest of the field. I'm going to highlight 2 words right here. You can go ahead and read them.
Enjoys running. Well,
good luck catching her, folks. Quintana,
I will say is that enjoying one thing is different than being good at one.
Well, so here's the catch. She calls herself a galgo. The Galgo Queen is actually the nickname she told us. Galgo in Spanish is greyhound.
Oh, well. I mean, I enjoy things I'm good at too, so.
She calls it Galgo power, being natural, optimistic, fight to be stronger, be the best you can. And for her, that is getting out and running.
All right. Galgo is in the lead and almost by 300 meters on the rest of the field. So, I was talking earlier, it's like if you can get out first, get out quick, and she did that. And not only that, but she's so far ahead is that the first 2 behind her may not have even seen her out on the course, to be honest with you.
They might think they're in first.
They might think they're in first, so all they're going to do is pace off each other. I mean, she might just run away. I mean, not trying to make a pun here, just run away with this just to the fact that nobody even knows she's out there.
Her 5K at full strength, her hit the stopwatch and go, is 19:25.
Oh, God.
Now she's tired and it's a little shorter than a 5K, just a 3-mile run. But this is her wheelhouse. Someone who comes into the regional ranked 36th in South America. Talk about a chance to make a statement in event 1. and start at the top of the leaderboard and have something to defend. It's easier to defend, no, than it is to have to climb in some respects.
And I said this in Heat 1 with Schmidt, if your jam comes on, crank the volume up and jam out, because if this is what it is, if she is, a great runner and loves to do it, being in this setting, coming where you were out of the open, what an amazing opportunity for yourself to just showcase a talent that you do have.
And this is really the only endurance test of the regional of this nature, really.
Yes.
There's nothing else.
Oh, for sure.
I mean, the assault bike is in there for individual event 5, but other than that, you're throwing in the dumbbell box step overs, and that's not the same. This is her wheelhouse, and this is it.
What you got to think about too is yes, that other event has lots of stuff in it, but it's not the same energy system. And when you talk energy systems, it's what it feels like on the body. If we just want to try to make this we're going to oversimplify this a little bit. It's this is straight aerobic. It means her lungs are the most tested element in this 3,000 meter row, 300 double unders, 3-mile run. Look at him just trying to breathe and just stay consistent. All right, this is pure aerobic. That chipper that they're going to have coming up on Sunday morning is a beast on the system.
Yep.
It's yes, you have handstand push-ups and toes to bar, and that's light, quick, easy work for these athletes. And then you get on the salt bike, which sucks, but it's not necessarily something that's going to break them off. But when you get to the step overs with the dumbbells, the lunges with the dumbbells, that is straight anaerobic, just kind of kick you in the face work that you're not going to feel in this event. So yes, they're very similar in terms of may look like that, but how they feel, they're going to be completely different.
Just judge her running right now, though. I mean, you look at the way she's going versus everyone else who is a lap or laps behind her at this point. And they're pacing themselves.
Okay.
She's pacing herself, and she's flying.
Well, she's looking around. She has very short steps. So her stride is very quick. And if you're saying look at the people around her, it looks like everyone else is reluctantly running. I'm running because I have to.
Yeah.
The stride that she has is running because she wants to, right? And it's just that almost that attitude of enjoying what you're doing and the excitement of being in the lead, right? So both of those play to your strengths, waving to fans, giving a little smile, then back to business on the run.
Watch her breathe, too. She's in control. Those breaths are regimented. There is nothing exasperated, gasping about that. It is all, it's like Lamaze breathing, I mean,
and that's what it needs to be, because it's not just having a pace with the feet, the rhythm with the arms, but there is a major rhythm that is involved with your breathing and your steps. And for those distance runners that know it's that, you find rhythms like I do 2 steps when I breathe in, I take 2 steps when I breathe out, and I keep that for 3 miles. And that becomes this almost like transient, meditation while you run, is that I fall into this rhythm and I think less about what's happening around me and just more about staying in the moment.
we would show you who's in second, but I don't know. Because I honestly, she has lapped so many people. I doggone can't tell you who's on lap 1, 2, or 3.
Well, I'll know, keep an eye open if anybody does end up trying to pass her, but I said before is that she was in this position coming back into the arena before the second or third place person even got out of it. And I like the deep breaths. There's no panic breathing. It's very controlled. And what I do like to see is she's driving her air out pretty aggressively. And you want to see that too. Those are athletes that know what they're doing, is because if you just kind of breathe or you get shortness of breath, you're not expelling out what's in your lungs as much as you should every time. In fact, you're doing it a little less and a little less. And what that's going to happen is that you're going to have this kind of buildup of just old air, CO2, that isn't blown out enough. And you'll see this a lot as some athletes will take a huge breath in and blow out as much air as you can to almost like clear out the system a little bit. And we've seen her do that a few times, but driving the air out is just as important as what you're taking in. So you don't want to have short, quick breaths throughout that.
There's a helpful coach. That's the first time we've seen that.
I know. At least on camera. I hope it's happened a few more times before that, but this volunteer is like, thank you. I don't. Okay.
Yeah, the volunteers are handing water. That is the first time we've caught it on camera, though. She handed it off, and the guy was like, what am I supposed to do with
It's
that?
like, keep that with a little wink, you know?
Keep it. It'll be worth something.
I'll sign it after the event.
The Galgo out in front, Simona Quintana.
Das atletas, tá iniciando a sua quinta volta, hein? Simona Quintana, vamos ficar
Leah Schmidt, the winner in Heat 1.
aí na liderança.
Castro and Nicole behind her, not running specialists. So what's big is you've got a runner leading here. You had a runner win Heat 1.
Right.
You had two non-runners, second and third in Heat 1, which becomes interesting in terms of how it plays out as the weekend goes on, because that will buoy them. They did well in an event that is not their strength. You've got Quintana, Schmidt, both doing well in events that are their strength. How will they do well when it gets to something that tests something that's not necessarily a weakness, but something else in their arsenal?
Oh, and that's what you want to see when you're thinking about testing fitness at the highest level, is that, all right, are you the best overall and well-rounded athlete here? Well, then you should at least place somewhere in the top 5, even if it's not your wheelhouse, so to speak, to make sure that you don't bury yourself too far out, because when you're only taking one, you don't have an opportunity to fall outside the top 10 in any event.
That's why we test overall fitness here, right?
Yeah, you know, it's weird.
There's your time to beat. And Quintana still has 13. Or Schmidt would have been at 42.35. So she still has.
So about 16
Yeah.
minutes, and let's see, finishing 5 on her 6th lap. So they're averaging about 2 to 2:30 per lap here. So it'll be close.
There has
It'll be
not
close.
been a female competitor at regionals thus far to finish this event in under 40 minutes. Again, the women and the men here are running outside today because of the difficulty getting the assault runners. Everyone else is running on the assault runner, which is the self-powered treadmill. Feels like you're always running uphill. Although you're seeing times on par with other regionals, which kind of goes, I know you made the statement in jest, but kind of lends credence to the success of the assault runner.
Yeah, I mean,
it mimics real running. The times are pretty similar.
It does, and that's kind of the good news here, is that we are running. It's like, well, it's pretty close, and as close as you get. You look at the time to beat set by Leah Schmidt. Bottom left corner of your screen is 42.35. We're about, what is that, 15 minutes off that coming up. You can see the score, they timed in the top left corner. So 27.35, 15 minutes from that. She's closing out her 6th lap. And so in terms of being on pace, she is on pace. And you're looking at, she's been running for about, coming up on 28, 12 minutes now, finishing 6th. So she's holding a pretty decent pace here, about 2 to 2:15 per 400. And if she can keep that for the next, is that she has at least for now, past the halfway point, the ability to get that time to beat. So very good pace that we have at the moment.
If this tells you how long they have to run, it feels like we've been watching Quintana go for an hour, and she is halfway through.
Now, if you just saw her kind of like grab at her stomach right there, and what I'm going to keep an eye on is that, is that an indication of maybe some type of cramping, right? And what you'll see is the old stitch, right? The old side stitch. I used to get this all the time, like trying to keep up with my dad on long runs. When I was a kid, is I'd get this side stitch and it hurts so bad, and you like grab at your waist, and you see that from a few athletes, is that they'll start to put their hands on their waist or right underneath their rib cage, and that indicates some type of cramping that might be going on. So I don't know if that was just an in-passing gesture she didn't even know she did, but this is the second time she's passed these group of athletes. Look at these. These are all names we were talking about getting off the rower first, and she's passing them again.
Suarez in the blue.
Yeah, there she's grabbing again.
And it definitely becomes one of those mental things where you can feel it and just go away. Go away, go away, hold off, hold off, hold off.
There's that light, quick stride. You can see her feet staying on the balls of her feet. That's what you want to see. See these other athletes, like I said, is just, looks like they're running in lifting shoes. It's just how hard they're pounding on the ground, and where her is just very light, quick steps.
Mais uma volta, sexta volta agora. E Simona Quintana, atleta disparada aqui na liderança.
8 of 12 here for the Galgos, Simona Quintana.
All right, so you're right about 30:15. Time to beat 42:35. She has 5 laps remaining. There she keeps grabbing at her,
And the facial expression changed a little bit when she grabbed last time, too.
And I'm not a doctor, and I'm not going to pretend I know what's going on, but if you think about that, that's kind of right where your diaphragm is, and that's the muscle that's, helping you breathe. And you got to think about the rowing and the double unders building into this, is a lot of that up and down contraction on the row you'll see, and the up and down bouncing on the double unders has caused that to happen to a lot of athletes over the last few regionals we saw last weekend. So where she's at in terms of pace in her heat, I think she's okay. If she can maintain, this is kind of an opportunity where she might need to back off a little bit.
Still comfortably in control right now, but doesn't want that to go away.
She keeps the pace that she's been on. She had 5 laps, 12 and a half minutes to get there. And that's about 2:30s that she's going to have to maintain if she wants to get that time to beat. So 2 minutes and 30 seconds per lap. She was at 30 minutes with 5 laps remaining. And that is about where she needs to be able to hold. So she's at 30:05, I think, when she last came in. So let's see where she gets to with 4 laps remaining of these 3 miles.
You have 49 minutes with which to accomplish your triple three. 3,000 meters, 300 double unders, and a 3-mile run here for Quintana in front. The 22-year-old out of Chile, her 3rd year in the Open. This is her first regional, albeit 3rd in Chile a year ago. She was just 34th in Latin America.
All right, so she came in right about 32:15. That's a 2:10 split. Hey, that's faster than what most of the guys were running in the earlier 2 heats. I think that's kind of the fun part about the triple threes as well, is that it's just an even playing field for both men and women, so it's a pretty fun comparison between the two. Guys obviously will be a little bit easier for the row for them, but 2:15 on that last one. Less than 10 minutes with 4 laps to go. So she can, again, maintain something south of 2:30 pace. She will set the new event time.
Again, no woman has finished under 40 at any regional, and she would have to hoof it to do that here, but...
Yeah, but that's true. She'll have to run very fast to get underneath that time.
She could get underneath Leah Schmidt, though, if she maintains this pace.
But I was going to say is that, she makes it look like she's just lightly jogging out there, but she is running very quickly. And it's just, it's just her light, easy steps, still focusing on that controlled breathing. See, she's just landing on the balls of her feet right underneath their hips. Those are the things you'd like to see from a runner that has good technique.
I think her stride length is deceptive in terms of how quickly she's running versus how quickly it looks she's running.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a free, easy movement. Continues to grab. Trying to keep that breathing apparatus going as she comes down the backstretch.
All right, so 30:05, 32:15, 34:20. So she's getting a little bit faster on this one.
Bananas. We're worried about whether or not there might be a cramp in there, and she's upping the tempo.
Yeah.
She's outside for lap 10.
Yeah, if she keeps this pace, she's probably going to be right around 41 minutes. So it might not be an event record pace in terms of what was said in previous regionals, but that, again, that was with the assault runner. But in terms of what is going on here, this is one of the better performances we've seen in any regional up until this point, regardless of if it's outside or an assault runner. And what's important for her is that it's the time of 42:35 set in heat number 1 by Leah Schmidt is just to get 100 points to your name.
Yep.
Right? You're coming in, not a lot of expectation, if any, based off what happened in the Open. And then after the first event in a region that hasn't been here in over 3 years, you come out with an event win. That's a pretty good start to the weekend.
Quintana trains at a distance. She is from Chile. Her head coach is the head coach at Toluca Núñez CrossFit. That is in Argentina. So they train at a distance. They've been working together for 2 years now, and he'll send stuff to her. Sometimes she'll go there, he'll come to her, but same coach as Maximiliano Aragosi on the men's side. But that is the dedication that some of and a lot of these athletes have to this sport, is finding the person that is right to push you. And if that person is of a different country of origin, finding a way to make it work.
Oh, she's picking up the pace now.
Just get out of my way.
Now that was about a 2-minute lap. I tell you what, if she is, cramping a little bit or having a stitch,
no idea.
She's going straight through that. I mean, that is tough as nails stuff right here.
It bodes well for her mentality, I think. If we just talk mental game, when you get to events 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, there is a strong will in there. And if she runs into a brick wall, she'll go back up and run again until she goes through it. And we'll see how that plays in to other events, other movements, other modalities as the weekend continues. Tata Hebani has been behind her for the vast majority of the last couple of laps. And you credit the Brazilian for keeping pace with Quintana. There you can see Hebani right behind her. I don't know what lap Tata is on, though, and that is the confusing part, is that Simona Quintana has just gone and gone and gone.
It's been at least one full lap.
The judge will stand up by Quintana's rower when she crosses it to indicate that she has completed 11 laps. 12 is the total. The judge will stand on 11, will move out of the way afterward. And that will indicate the fact that, and she's even saying, I got this, here it is. When the judge moves out of the way, that indicates your lane is open, run down it, and head to the finish line. And there's the hand. Quintana is on lap 12 with no one else behind her. Simona Quintana is going to, barring disaster, win this event and crush it.
I mean, think about that. She's probably going to win this event by nearly 2 minutes over Leah Schmidt's time from heat number 1.
The event record is 40:15. She's got an outside shot.
Yeah, she does. I mean, if she wanted to push the pace, she doesn't need to.
And I don't know if she knows in her
She's
head
fully
exactly.
capable of actually getting that time. I mean, we saw her put up a
She's a minute away.
2-minute split on her third to last lap. For sure, you can do it on your last one just with the excitement of finishing. And you see some of the athletes she's running by. This is the third time she's passed them on this race.
Quintana is 45 seconds behind the event record as she turns that corner to come back into the building. The 22-year-old Chilean is at her first regional, and she's making a statement in event 1.
Man, I wish somebody could sit on that corner to scream at her to start sprinting because she could do it. She still has an opportunity.
She's
it's only
got a
10
chance.
seconds.
10 seconds, and she's got to get to the rower. She is 5 seconds behind Gabby Magala's pace. Turns the corner. There's the record. It just passed, but the Galgo is sprinting home. And Quintana is behind the event record by 5 seconds unofficially.
You know, and just look how hard she worked and what she was dealing with out there. I don't know exactly, but I know it wasn't super comfortable. And I tell this to athletes all the time. It will not hurt as bad if you get what you want to get. It's worth pushing through, especially if you can win.
I got news for you, too. If we had any worries about her cramping out there, that does not look like an exhausted young lady. She looks like she could go do 4 more laps. I mean, she just bested the average final score for racers in the Eastern Europe and South regionals last week by anywhere between 4 and 6 minutes.
Wow.
And has enough energy to do local media interviews right after.
Now it's just a question of who, what, and where are second and third.
That's Giulietta Ciappi with the red hair on the inside that has turned the corner. And we do have a couple of judges standing. 4 judges standing, as a matter of fact. So we do have some people that are coming in behind.
Said Rosana Prado, Andrea Pinheiro.
They will be, however, more than a full minute off the pace of Simona Quintana.
Yet we still have 42:35 on the board for the second best time in the event.
Yeah.
Now she's still running.
That's amazing. You can walk, Simona. It's over.
Hey, look at this, man.
Here comes Hibani. She wasn't that far off. Tata Hibani was first off the rower, and she's second in off the run. And someone who expects to be strong with weights just had a huge showing.
But a time unofficial 42:34. That looks like it's going to be a second faster than Schmidt's time in heat number 1 of 42:35.
And Ciappi gets in at 42:53, and Orjuela comes in behind her fourth. Giulietta Ciappi out of Buenos Aires. She was with Big Friends back in 2014 when they won the regional, the last time Latin America had one as a team. So we talk about all the ones that went to the games last year with Big Friends. She's OG. I was on it before it was cool. Time cap 49 minutes, still plenty of time. And we will get to that point when we start to see the floodgates open and athlete after athlete will flood back into the arena. As of now, we have 4 finishers. I stand corrected, by the way. Fulgante Chavez in 4th. Orjuela still out there. And look at the foot race for positioning. Rosado coming in behind. Rosado is in 6th. And it was Orjuela that does come in 5th, just a step ahead of her.
Still smiling.
From rower to run and to the ground. Yeah, you're right.
Still smiling.
I like Rosanna Prado. It's very easy to watch her and go, I hope she does well. The former jazz ballet dancer and professional circus performer turned CrossFit athlete. So 6 are in. The difference between Orjuela and Prado was 0.4 of a second. Constanza Cabrera is 7th here in Heat 2. The second Chilean, just 23 years of age. You talk about the future of CrossFit. How about a 22-year-old and a 23-year-old in Quintana and Cabrera? This is Susana Rodriguez Eto, the Brazilian out of arguably my favorite box in this entire regional competition. She is from Rooster CrossFit. Racing for positioning again coming in. And it is Christine Knief and Eliana Jimenez down the stretch. Christine Knief, one of the 3 American citizens in this regional. We'll talk more about Christine Knief, but a graduate of the Air Force Academy and a major in the Air Force. That is what takes her to Latin America. We still have about 3 minutes until the cap. That's Knief in the multicolored outfit. This is all still about pacing. You do you.
Yeah. I don't know. Some of this looks like survival.
Carmen Navarro out of Santiago, Chile, where she developed the name for her box, Nirvana CrossFit, for this exact moment. When you finish a workout, you are no longer suffering. You are in a place of happiness, a place of nirvana.
Debatable. I have not felt much nirvana at the end of any event I've ever done.
Andrea Pinheiro in just under 47:20. Here comes Luana Suarez. Her unofficial time will flash up at 47:29.
Man, I'm very impressed with Tata Urbani.
Larissa Cunha is in. Natalia Mancari is in.
Getting second to that. Like,
I didn't see
I
it.
did not see that coming.
No. I thought she'd crush the row, and she did. We saw the strength of her pull.
And I thought she kind of blew it out too fast when she started to keel over a little bit on her double unders.
But we made the point that every time we watched Quintana, we didn't know how many laps behind she was.
Yeah.
But every time we watched Quintana, there was Tata. And what's interesting, remember we talked about it earlier, the 21st competitor in this heat is Melina Rodriguez out of Big Friends, who went to the games a year ago. We have not yet seen her emerge.
Oh, there she is.
And there she is to try to get in under the cap. She has 30 seconds and she will fly. So Rodriguez does evade the cap designation with 20 seconds to spare. And Kelly Edelman, who we talked about off the very top of this competition, 42 years young, still going strong.
Yeah.
And to close things out, can she get under the cap with 1 second to beat?
Yes.
That's Constanza Sepulveda racing for the finish. So Chile in first and Chile in to close it off. As we take a look back,
I tell you what, Simona Quintana, right off the bat, watch her breathing. You just really got to focus on that a little bit. Nice long stroke, good technique, but deep breaths. Deep breaths on double unders. Look how relaxed she is. And then the speed she has, this light, quick pacing, just blowing by other girls, working into her final lap. And I think she was so close to an event record. It is a little different without the assault runners, but just a few seconds off an event win. That's a heck of a start for her.
Let's go down to Tefi, who is with the victorious Galgo.
Simona, el Galgo chileno. This is the first time that you're competing in regionals. It looked like it was right on your wheelhouse. Did you know that you could potentially win this event when you're going in?
Yes, I think this could be happen because I really like run and the cardio workouts, and I love this workout.
There's still a lot of movements to come. Which one are you most excited for?
I like the handstand walk, and I'm really excited for the obstacle, and I like that workout.
We can wait to see you on that one. Congratulations in this event.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Tefi, thank you to Chile with love. Simona Quintana, 100 points and an event win. And Tata Hebani right behind her. They both topped the score of Leah Schmidt from the first round, and then behind her is Brenda Castro. So, really good number for Castro. Nicole comes in still with a top 10 finish. Pravati is in 8th top 10 finish. Chance to move around, but a good start for a lot of big names after event 1. Event 2 on the men's side is coming your way when we return you to Rio de Janeiro. It's the Latin American Regionals. We're just off the beach here in Brazil.